Back in 1994, Nissan's factory racing squad Nismo was gearing up for its 10th anniversary. They needed something epic to roll out, a real showstopper. Before, they had already made 2 Nismo signatured cars, but it was all about the skylines with that badge. But this time, the Yokohama guys switched it up.
Has firm plans to export its new Silvia to the U.S. this spring.
The 6th generation of Nissan Silvia hit the scene just 1 year before. The S14 model was continuing its predecessor's concept in an evolutionary way. It had a bit longer wheelbase, slightly improved suspension, more rigid body, and a more powerful version of S14. So Nismo grabbed the fresh middle-tier model and with just simple tweaks, boosted its performance up to rival the big dogs. That's how the Nismo 270R rolled onto the scene. Nowadays, limited edition rides are mostly just the base model in a snazzy suit with specific paint, rims, fancy stitched seats, and special edition badges all around. But back in '94, Nismo wasn't playing that game. Their anniversary gift to themselves came decked out with its own aero kit called Edge, a unique rear spoiler, a little bit weird but functional vented hood, and upsized wheels. Inside, they spiced things up with a 365 steering wheel, a boost gauge, a 300 km per h-dash, and seats rocking the Nismo pattern, though they kept the stock vibe. All the 30 cars were painted in black with a Nismo stripe and 270R graphics on the body. The technical tweaks didn't turn the small Japanese coupe into a beast, but they sure gave it some serious sports car credit. They pumped up the engine with a new Aichai ball-bearing turbo camshafts and a remapped ECU. The fuel system got an upgrade with new injectors and a pump, and of course there came 3-inch exhaust and a front-mounted intercooler. The result? The output was a solid 270 horsepower, which you could guess of its name. So the power gain was about 25% from the stock SA20DET. The performance was quite impressive for the middle 90s. The Nismo 270R could hit 0 to 60 in 5 seconds with the maximum speed at 160 miles per hour, 258 kilometers per hour. All that power came to the wheels through a reinforced clutch and a race-ready 2-way limited slip diff. Basically, Nismo is a tuning company, and it was their show car back in the day. So the main purpose was to sell the tuning parts. And 270R went as a perfect example of how efficiently you could increase Silvia's performance without losing its reliability. The car was quick and perfectly balanced, and it shaped the culture of S-chassis modding for decades. Like 80% of Silvias in the 2000s were tuned in pretty much the same way. Let's take a closer look at some of the parts that were used. The chassis received all the possible silver-painted Nismo parts that it could, all the arms, rods, sway bars, struts, engine, and tranny mounts. Indeed, the coilovers were adjustable, which allowed the car to drop down by 2 inches. Silvia's body was never famous for its rigidity, so all the struts from the Nismo catalog were just in time. The original air cooling system wasn't very efficient, so a frontal-mounted intercooler was the way to go. And brakes. Nismo didn't use any fancy Brembos there. Instead, they went with a factory aluminum Sumitomos from GTST R33 Skyline, just like any other S-chassis owner put it later. Nowadays, it's barely possible to find authentic 270R exterior or interior features, but if they come out on the market, be sure they are not cheap at all. However, if you want to build your personal copy, it's still possible. And despite all the Nismo factory-made 270R being painted black, there are some pictures on the web with different colored cars. Are they custom-built replicas or resprayed originals? Who knows? Despite such a tiny amount of units produced and Nissan Silvia's iconic status in modern automotive culture, the 270R prices doesn't hit a stratosphere like a GTR, for example. Even after it became legal for importing to the US, these cars don't break the 100K mark, which is still a way more than you can ask for a Silvia, but the price like this works better for saving these cars on the roads. Keeps these unicorns alive and out of the drift and race graveyard. Let's be honest, it's an extremely rare car, which is obvious with only 30 units ever produced, but it's not a 400DR or Nismo GTR-like car. It's not a homologation series car. It lacks a racing history. It doesn't have a racing engine or bespoke carbon fiber parts, but in 1994, It was aimed to show everybody the prospects of this new Nissan chassis, which actually turned iconic just in a few years and stays still. And if you guys know any interesting fact about this car, or you want to see more content like this, please share in the comment section below. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to be subscribed for not missing the next video about another wheeled unicorn.